Since 2015, Jared Stillman has rocked Nashville sports.
That team freaking stinks.
And now he's back. The takes are hotter than ever.
I mean, let's be honest, he just can't coach.
Welcome to Stillman and Company.
Stillman and Company of the 440 Sports Network, presented by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. And we, of course, are a part of the Believe YouTube network. Go ahead and give it a like and a subscribe. Let me tell you about our presenting sponsor. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Hiller takes great care of my home. They can do the exact same for you. Let them take care of your home. I absolutely love Hiller because not only have they been with me for forever, but whenever I have an issue at my home, that's who I call. When I call Hiller, they get whatever the issue is taken care of, and I never have to call them back about that exact same issue. And they believe in that. That's why they think, hey, if we take care of our customers every time on every deal, this is going to be absolutely huge. And that's how they've built their business as big as it's become. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Been in business since 1990. Family owned and operated, 100% satisfaction of happy you'll be, or the service is free. And I know this because I use Hiller at my home. Care is their core value. They believe when they care about others, everybody wins. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, proud supporters of the Preds, the Vols, and Vandy. Hiller. Call the Happy Face truck today. A lot of stuff to get into on today's program. As TDG says, take those shoes off, like, and subscribe. Again, tell your friends, go subscribe to this program. That's the best currency we can get is when it comes to a subscription. So go ahead and click that subscribe. Okay, I want to start today's show off acknowledging at the top the passing of Wes Rucker. And last night, I started to see on Twitter some rumors about people saying, I hope what I hear about Wes Rucker is not true, and I hope, and I started to see this, and I'm like, wait a minute, Wes Rucker? And I texted Chad Withrow, and I said, please tell me that this Wes Rucker rumor is not true. And Chad texted me and said, sadly, it is. Now, I'm not going to get on here and pretend to know Wes Rucker very well. He and I would get back, occasionally we'd get into it a little here and there. But I had a lot of respect for Wes. When it came to Tennessee sports, if there was something going on like a women's basketball game and I wanted to know what was going on, I'd go search right for the Twitter feed of Wes Rucker. Now, look, Wes would do things in interviews. He'd say things where I'd roll my eyes and I'd think, oh, my God, Wes Rucker. But it was obvious in the way he covered the Vols how much he loved what he did. And while I may have disagreed with him a time or two, and I may have pissed him off a time or two, especially one time around some of the Butch Jones stuff, I never thought when it came to Wes Rucker, I never thought, you know what, this guy's just saying stuff to say stuff. This guy's in it because he wants people to know who he is. This guy's in it because he's in it because he lived it. He loved covering the Vols. And I always appreciate people like that. Again, I don't search out people that say things that I agree with. I search out people that have information. And I search out people that enjoy what they do. And Wes Rucker was that guy. And last night, after I had heard the news, I was very sad. And I was reading things on Twitter. And Lindsay went out to dinner last night, came home, and she asked me why I kept looking at my phone. And I didn't want to tell her because I didn't want to tell her the story of Wes and his family. And I mean, one young kid, another on the way, a loving wife. It's horrible. And Caroline and I were texting about Wes today. And I said, I don't want to act like one of these guys that played football and then says, you don't know because you didn't play the game. And I don't want to sound like this when talking to you about Wes Rucker tragically passing away, having a young child and another one on the way. And I don't want to kind of say, well, you don't understand because you're not a parent and I've been a parent for all of 5 minutes. But I did say, yesterday, our son's been dealing with an ear infection for the last couple of days. He's been on antibiotics. And one of the worst things is when he lays down at night, that fluid builds up and he's had a very hard time going to sleep. And so we've had to really rock him to sleep and really baby him the last couple of days. And so last night, I am rocking my son to sleep, and my son falls asleep in my arms, and he's still so little and so cuddly. And I just kept rocking him because I'm just rocking my son. And I know at some point, my son will not want to be rocked and held and won't want to be kissed on the forehead and all of those things. And I just think about the fact that there's now a little kid that doesn't have their dad to do that. And I think about all the things that I'm excited for in Jack's life that Wes isn't going to get to experience with his own kids. And that hurts. And you don't have to be a parent to be able to understand that hurts. But as a parent, for me, in my experience, it hurts doubly. And so I just want everybody out there, I echo all of the many people that have said words of condolence and words of mourning and have sent prayers and everything that they can for Wes Rucker. Again, I didn't know Wes Rucker very well, but I knew Wes Rucker well enough to know that man loved covering the Vols and that he and I, our opinions sometimes kind of clashed a little bit. That's okay. That's how it should be. So again, I will be thinking about Wes. And I'll be thinking about his family a lot here. And again, it's just absolutely tragic. I do want to get to the combine. So next week is the NFL scouting combine. And what I love about the NFL scouting combine is, to me, the NFL scouting combine is the official start to the next season. And I remember when I was a kid, I was a huge baseball fan growing up, and I would always be sad at the end of the baseball season because I would think, oh my God, it's October and April is so far away. And when it comes to the NFL, and I think the NFL likes it this way, to me, the NFL offseason is really from like June 10th to July 26th. That's really not that long of an offseason, because the actual offseason when it comes to the NFL really does feel like an actual season. I mean, the Titans had been dead the last 2 years after week 3. And so we've just been going through the games and playing out the string and moving forward and everything else and just waiting until the offseason when we hope they can actually build a team. This year, it was everybody waiting for them to go get a coach. Last year, it was everybody waiting for them to see what they were going to do with their general manager and to figure out what they were going to do at quarterback. So we know what the Titans are going to do now at coach. We know what the Titans are going to do at general manager. We know what the Titans are going to do at quarterback for right now. And if there's anything we've learned about the Titans over the last couple of years, it is that nothing is set in stone. So right now, we know who the coach will be in September. We know who the quarterback will be in September. And we know who the general manager will be in September. And I can't promise you anything after that. That's why the combine is so important. Because what happens in the NFL is each team, once their season is over, goes into their home base and they stay in their home base. Now, occasionally, they'll let something out. Oftentimes, I believe, because they want to see how other people react to it, or they want to set the table. For instance, I thought Adam Schefter coming out and saying on Super Bowl Sunday that the 49ers plan to keep Mac Jones was San Francisco having huddled up, talking about what they want to do in the offseason, talking about how, hey, maybe we think we can trade Mac Jones, but we want to make sure we get something big in return. And then they turn out and they go and they say, okay, we have decided we're not going to trade Mac Jones. Wink, wink. Now teams can huddle up before the combine and they can decide, do we want to go after Mac Jones? Are we interested in Mac Jones? What do we think about Mac Jones? And I say this because every single team, some teams have had longer than others. The Seahawks have had a week. But every single team has been huddled up in their facility, and this weekend they will descend upon Indianapolis. And then it's kind of a free-for-all. There's a media everywhere. There are executives everywhere. There are coaches everywhere. There are college players everywhere, which doesn't really matter, but there are agents everywhere. This is where the real league business starts to get done. Yes, we will all see the guys run the 40 time and the quarterbacks throw the ball, and they'll have interviews with different guys. And did you see what David Bailey? Yeah, that's going to happen. But to me, that's not the combine. The combine is, for me, the official beginning to the league's business year. This is where all the important stuff gets done. And everybody has been huddled up in their own facility, making their own plans with whomever they want to share them with. And I don't know, some people probably share them with everybody in the building, and some general managers, coaches keep it very close to the vest. But this is where those initial conversations start to happen. This is where in 2023, somebody told Mike Silver that Rand Carthon was shopping Derrick Henry. Not because that wasn't happening. I think we all know it was. But they probably did it because they traded information. And teams are trading information with media to try to figure out information about other teams. And agents are trading information with teams trying to set themselves up in free agency. And agents are trying to set up teams so that maybe they can make some trades. And there is a lot of business that gets done at the combine. And so that's what I'm looking forward to here. And so here's what I think matters to me when it comes to the Titans at the combine this year. Number one, I would like to see the Titans involved in trades. And the reason I say that is I feel like the trade market is kind of untapped as far as the NFL is concerned. Some teams take advantage of it. Some teams do it a little bit. Some teams are more aggressive than others. But when it comes to signing a free agent, you have to pay the signing bonus, and then you're guaranteeing money on the front end. When you trade for a guy, you're basically just guaranteeing that 1 year every time. Their signing bonus has already been paid, so you don't owe them any money for next year. Now, if somebody has guaranteed money for next year, then that becomes part of the discussion, but I would like to see the Titans involved in the trade market. And there's a couple of reasons I'd like to see them involved in the trade market, one of which is sometimes I think you can get players that are as good on the trade market without really giving anything up as you can just getting a guy in free agency and not having to give anything up. Now, the names people are going to want to talk about when it comes to the combine, A.J. Brown, Max Crosby, I'm not interested in those guys. But as I've said this week, I'll have a conversation about DJ Moore. I'll have a conversation about Trey Hendrickson. If the Bengals are hell-bent on franchise tagging him to try to get something, okay, fine, let's talk about it. That I'll do. So I don't expect the Titans to make a trade at the scouting combine, but I do expect there to be some noise about, hey, the Titans are really looking into the trade market as well as free agency, where we know they're going to go out and spend a bunch of money this offseason. I think back again to the combine, and I think about how last year, for instance, we talked a lot about free agent quarterbacks because everybody told us that the quarterback class sucked. And then Kaharski came out of the combine and said, yeah, they're not going to sign Sam Darnold. And they came out of the combine and everybody started to say, okay, yeah, they're going to go ahead and draft Cam Ward. So that's the first thing, is everybody has made their plan. Now is when you go out and you start to execute the plan. This time last year, nobody knew that the Seattle Seahawks were huddled up in their corner in their facility in Seattle, and they were saying, is Geno Smith really that good? Not really. Let's move on. And then that's what leads to teams that don't do their homework, like the Raiders getting caught with their pants down. So all the work, we've been talking about free agent boards. That stuff needs to be done now because the negotiations start with agents at the combine. The second thing, the Titans are going to be asked about all of their cap space when it comes to what they're going to do in free agency. They're not going to tell you. So don't expect there to be a press conference on Wednesday and Mike Borgonzi to sit there and say, yeah, I think in free agency, we're going to add 2 wide receivers. We're going to go out there. We really, really like Charlie Kolaw at tight end, the tight end from the Ravens. We want to put him on our team because he's a good blocker and we want to run the ball. I don't think there's anything like that they're going to say. But what I do wonder is, what is the expectation they're setting for agents and for their fans about how active they plan to be in building this team? Last year, Mike Borgonzi at the Combine told Kaharski, hey, you've got to keep the fans' expectations reasonable, which to me was a declaration that he knew this team wasn't going to be very good. Now, I still don't think that gives him an excuse for winning 3 games. USA! All right! All right. So right now, USA versus Slovakia. USA just went up 1-0. Let's go. We'll get into the hockey here in just a little bit. Dylan Larkin putting Team USA on the board. But I do wonder, last year Mike Borgonzi could talk about being patient in terms of building the team. You can't be patient this year. Mike Borgonzi is on the hot seat. I think he needs to know that. I think he does know that. This is the Titans, but he's on the hot seat. So now, instead of, Paul, it's going to take some time. We want to build this thing the right way. We got to be patient. We got to set expectations for the fans. Instead of that, is it going to be, hey, we're ready to this, we're that, I don't know. So I'll be keeping an eye on that. And then the other thing that I find to be fascinating, and I was talking to Jeff Schwartz about this today on SiriusXM, but it is the quarterback carousel, because Fernando Mendoza is going to the Vegas Raiders. Everybody knows that. But outside of that, who's going to be the Jets quarterback? Who's going to be the Steelers quarterback? Who's going to be the Browns quarterback? Who's going to be? There are a lot of teams that are going to be in the market for a starting quarterback. Who's going to be the Colts quarterback next year? And I think you'll start to see these things pick up. What's going to happen with Tua? What's going to happen with Kyler? I think you're going to see those things start to pick up as we get into the Combine. Kirk Cousins going to be let go in Atlanta. I think you're going to hear a lot about Kirk Cousins this week. Not from the Titans, but I think you're going to hear that. So this is where I get excited. This, to me, is the beginning of the football season. The Combine. I remember a couple years ago, it was the Super Bowl out in Phoenix, and then a week later, I was in Mexico, and then the next week, it was the Combine. I love the Combine. And then there's the actual testing, and there's everything else. And let me say this. Want everybody to hear this. The testing matters at the Combine. Far too often, people look at 40 times, they look at measurements, and they say, oh, well, just look at the tape. It doesn't matter that guy's slow. No, it matters. If you are a draft prospect, have been preparing your entire life to play in the NFL. You have been preparing since the end of your college season for this standardized test. If you fail that standardized test, that's a really bad sign. And I know every year people say they don't care about the underwear Olympics and that it doesn't matter. Oh, who cares about a 40 time? Jerry Rice didn't run the fastest 40. First of all, there is no record of what Jerry Rice's 40 time was. You look online, there's a lot of different, it's estimated it could have been this or that. So there's no way to know that. But I will tell you this. Fast guys run fast. Slow guys run slow. Or they don't run. Keep that in mind. Other things that matter. I don't get worked up on the bench press, but actual measurements, that matters. We talk about arm length. We talk about hand size. All of those things do matter, especially if you're a team like the Titans that is going to be picking in the top 4 of the draft. What you don't want to be is you don't want to be in the position the New England Patriots are, where their tackle has short arms. And when they have short arms, you look at them and say, well, we're going to play him at tackle anyways. And now here you are a year later, and you still don't know if you actually have an NFL left tackle. Now, just because somebody runs fast doesn't mean that they can do other things like catch the football. But that does tell you how fast somebody is. I've seen guys not run in the combine before. And everybody say, oh, no, he's plenty fast. Traylon Burks, not that fast. Because he didn't run well at the combine either. Keep that in mind. With that, I'm kind of pumped. So I did want to leave time for your reaction on all of this, because I haven't gotten to a lot of your reaction this week. So throw it down there in the comment box and in the YouTube chat. I have to get this off my chest. Again, as right now, Team USA in the first period is up on Slovakia 1-0 and up 7-3 in shots. I don't want to take anything for granted, but I'm glad they got that goal to go up 1-0. The earlier game today featured Canada, who I desperately want to see on Sunday against Team USA. And if Team USA beats Slovakia, that is who we will see on Sunday. Canada versus Finland and Juuse Saros. Finland got off to a 2-0 lead. Jeff Schwartz, who, again, he's a football guy, but Jeff Schwartz is one of my favorite guys to work with in truly all of the media business, because he played the game, but he doesn't act like, I know everything because I played football and nobody knows anything because they didn't play football. And I think he does a great job of kind of explaining things to people and taking you behind the curtains. But again, not saying your opinion doesn't matter because you didn't play. But today we were talking a lot about the hockey, and Jeff Schwartz is a big-time gambler. You know, I remember when we first started working together on Sirius, it was during the summer, and he was talking about WNBA bets. And I was like, that is where you are in. And I told him this morning, I said, just go ahead and take Canada. And he said, why? And I said, because the Finland goalie, Juuse Saros, is the Predators goalie, and Juuse Saros never wins a big game. So Canada goes down 1-0, and Schwartz texts me, and he says, Canada might shit their pants. I texted back, and I said, I'd still take Canada. And then he texted me when it was 2-0. Eric Holla, by the way, put one in the back of the net. And he texted me when it was 2-0. And I said, I'm telling you, Canada's going to win. So I think he laid some shekels on Canada. And so he put some money down on Canada. And Canada, as we know, came back. They won the game 3-2. After the game was over. And by the way, at one point, Schwartz texted me and he said, this Finnish goalie's the best goalie I've ever seen. And I texted back and I said, he's Tua in net. And then I screenshotted that and sent it to Robbie Stanley, and he had a good chuckle about that. I knew Juuse Saros wasn't going to win. And the reason why I knew Juuse Saros wasn't going to win is because Juuse Saros never wins big games. We now have years and years and years of evidence. And in all those years and years and years of evidence, Juuse Saros, I don't think, has ever won a big game. And I remember the Vancouver series 2 years ago and watching Juuse Saros play average to below average hockey and saying, that's it, I'm out. Now I have to make a decision on Saros. I either have to pay him a big contract or I have to trade him and move to Askarov, and I'm out because he can't win. And Willie Donick and Chris Mason and everybody made all those excuses for Saros. And so the Predators signed him because they've got a giant Saros in their pants whenever it comes to thinking he's the next Pecorine. And they gave him the huge contract and they moved to Askarov and they said, you watch. And Juuse Saros has not won a meaningful game since then. Juuse Saros couldn't beat the Arizona Coyotes in the bubble series. And that team doesn't even exist anymore. They have not won a playoff series with him in the net. And so I tweeted out after the game, I said, it is amazing to me that Jordan Bennington can win every single big game it feels like that guy ever plays in. Jordan Bennington, and we are family friends with the Benningtons, No, I don't know Jordan, but we're family friends with the Benningtons. Jordan Bennington is an average regular season goalie. I mean, I think his save percentage this year is something like .865. It's awful. And yet, go put Jordan Bennington in a big game, and Jordan Bennington finds a way to win. Put Juuse Saros in a big game, and Juuse Saros finds a way to lose. That's just a fact. So, of course, I tweet that out. And hockey, Twitter, and I thought Preds fans, for the most part, didn't like Saros. But hockey, Twitter was like, how can you get on Saros for that performance? That team out there, Canada, they were so good. And I don't disagree with any of that. Should the expectation be that Juuse Saros is going to win that game? Probably not. As I said to Jeff Schwartz, I said the Finnish goalie is Tua in net, and he's playing the 1920 American League All-Stars with Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig and Jimmy Fox and all those Ty Cobb and all those great players. I get it. But at the same time, you get spotted a 2-0 lead. If you're an elite goalie, sometimes you have to find a way to win that game. And for everybody out there, when it comes to replacement level goaltending, if that's all I have to expect from Saros, which is when they play well in front of him, he can win. And the word there is can, because he hasn't won yet. And he's been the starting goalie for the last 6 years for the Predators. Then I don't need to give him a no movement clause. And I don't need to give him an 8-year contract, which is exactly what they did. So which one is it? Is it Juuse Saros is an elite goaltender and everything has just gone the Preds' misfortunate ways, or have been misfortunate, or whatever you want it to be about? Or is it, at some point, I need you to win a big game for your team? That's what the goalie can do. One time, Peter Laviolette said to me, he goes, the best penalty killer a team has is its goaltender. That is the best penalty killer you have. In fact, on the third goal, the goal from McKinnon, there was a shot right on the net. Saros puts his glove out to stop it, and he's not able to come away with it. They're not able to blow it dead, not able to get new guys on the ice. Again, I'm not saying he has to stand on his head in every game. I'm saying it'd be nice for 8 years with a no movement clause if he could stand on his head for one fucking game. That's all I ask. I mean, Barry Trotz would come on my radio show, and I'd ask him about the goalie all the time, and he'd talk about we're not playing well enough in front of him. Well, if all that matters is how good you are in front of him, and it doesn't matter how well he plays, then why is he the one making all the money? Why are you tied to him? And this is where I feel bad for people like me and people like a lot of you all out there that are Predators fans, because a lot of us did not want them to sign Saros because we knew Saros couldn't win big games, and we knew the only hope of winning with Saros would be if you didn't have a lot invested in him and you could invest in the rest of your team. And we knew they had a young goalie who might be really, really good in the future. And we know that, hey, unless you're Dominic Hasek, it doesn't really matter. Kevin Lankinen can be your goalie and you'll be fine. If the guy's not Dominic Hasek, and I'm telling you, this guy's not Dominic Hasek. And the Willies and the Barry Trotzes and the Chris Masons and everybody kept telling me basically, no, this guy's Pekka 2.0. Pekka wins that game today for Finland. If Pekka Rinne is the goaltender for Finland and they spot him a 2-0 lead, he wins. Because he won Game 1 and Game 3 of the Chicago Blackhawks series in 2017 by doing just that. He won Game 5 and Game 6 of the 2017 Western Conference Final against Anaheim. Now, if Pekka had one of his pants pissing moments, then they would have lost, but that would have happened within the first 2 minutes of the game, like the Winnipeg series in 2018. The truth with Saros is he's fine. He's fine. He's a fine goalie. But you just gave an 8-year contract and a full no move to a guy who's fine, to a guy who's probably average. And Saros couldn't get his skate to the post, could he? So I know people are going to sit there and defend Saros for how he played in this particular game, and that's fine. He didn't have one of those, oh my God, are you watching this game? Like he did last year in the Four Nations against Team USA when they just embarrassed him. But it is big game number 50 for Juuse Saros over the last 6 years with 7 more to go. And he's 0 for 50 in big games. You know, the one guy I'm really keeping my eye on, and if Team USA gets to the gold medal game on Sunday, and this might be a little shameless plug, but I'll be on Sirius XM on Mad Dog Sports Radio when the Team USA Canada game is over, if you want the full reaction right there. But when it comes to Canada and it comes to USA on Sunday if they play, the guy I'm keeping an eye on is Austin Matthews. And the reason I'm keeping my eye on Austin Matthews is because I kind of think Austin Matthews might be a choker. Like, I think he might be one of those guys who, when the big moments come, he just doesn't show up. And that seems to be an issue in Toronto, where he's the face of that franchise. But I don't really care about the Toronto Maple Leafs. So when he doesn't show up in big games in the playoffs and he turns into the hockey version of James Harden, that's not my problem. But when he does it for Team USA, that's when it is my problem. And then there are other guys, again, like Jordan Bennington. Jordan Bennington, look at his stats this season. They're not great. Look at his win-loss. It's not great. But when the going gets tough in these big games, Jordan Bennington has huge balls. Whether it's Game 7 of the Cup final against the Boston Bruins, whether it was last year in the Four Nations face-off, whether it's been this year in the Olympics, Jordan Bennington is a winner. Juuse Saros is the opposite. He doesn't win. Like, I'm looking at Austin Matthews, and I'm like, I'm not sure that guy's a winner. Now, I'd still pay Matthews because he's one of the best 4 players on the planet. But when it came to Saros, I begged him. I said, I do not sign him. Like, do not sign him to a deal. Barry Trotz, oh, no. You'll see, Jared. Well, I'm waiting. Juuse Saros became the Predators goalie in 2020. It is 2026. We have 7 more years of Juuse Saros, which means that he'll be the goalie until 2033. Will they win a playoff series in 13 years? If I had to put money on it right now, I'd say no. You know why? Because he's the Tua of the NHL. Think about this. I kept watching Tua play big games for the Dolphins and losing every time. And the Dolphins said, no, he's our franchise quarterback, and they gave him that huge contract. And now, because of that huge contract, everybody has gotten fired, the team stinks, and they're stuck with him. That's Saros. And so Juuse Saros playing on a team full of NHL players. It would have been a big upset if Finland had beaten Canada. It wouldn't have been some unbelievable upset because look at the Finland roster. I mean, Mikko Rantanen scored the first goal of the game. He's pretty good. Is it too much to ask Juuse Saros to just every once in a while win a big game? Just stand on his head like $8 million goalies should occasionally in big games? And apparently the answer is yes. Because every time I bring it up, people get all worked up and people get all bent out of shape. So I'll just keep waiting for Juuse Saros to have a big game when it matters against a better team. And for there not to be some excuse about, well, it's everybody else's fault, because it always is. And when that day comes, I'll be happy because I'll be a Predators fan. The problem is, I'm not sure that day's actually going to come. And today, Saros was given a 2-0 lead. And you know how it is when you're the undermanned team in a game like that. You get the 2-0 lead, and it's like, all right, here you go, babe. The first goal, the first Canadian goal, there was nothing Saros could have done. The second Canadian goal, Saros was too busy trying to get an interference call and got rattled by the little bump from Brad Marchand, which was really Eric Holla's fault. And then they scored. And I mean, I guess everybody from Finland was just bitching about the call. Boucher on the USA broadcast didn't have anything to say about it, said it was fine. And not only that, but if it was really that close, they probably would have challenged it. They didn't. Although I will say that Celebrini offside, that was close. And also, woo! All those years that the Predators won those meaningless games with John Hines. Whew. Look at how many good players are going to be on the San Jose show. That Macklin Celebrini, he is so effing good. But I also think it's almost borderline tragic that Barry Trotz is leaving as the general manager. And so us, the fans, are stuck with his horseshit decision to sign Juuse Saros, and he gets to go off into retirement, right off into the sunset. All right, I do want to leave some time for your reaction today on the program. So let's go ahead and just get right into it. Hockey on the table, football on the table. We're not going to go as long as we usually do. I wasn't going to do a show today, and then the Saros thing just absolutely pissed me off. George says the Juuse Saros excuse of the day. That's good. We may have to bring that up. Although the thing is like with Cam Ward, when it comes to Cam and the Cam Ward excuse of the day,
The Cam Ward excuse of the day.
I feel like it's all Titans fans and national media's sentiment that, oh no, Cam, he's really good. It's everybody else. Like everybody's making the excuses. When it comes to Saros, I think for the most part, Predators fans are kind of sick of the excuse making. You know, it was one thing when you weren't getting a big contract and you played in the Arizona Bubble Series and guys like Johansson and Duchesne sucked and you could say, okay, it's them, not me. You know, he was solid in that Carolina series. They just didn't have as good enough players in order to beat Carolina. But then I think after Vancouver, it was like, okay, baby, time to go pay what you owe. And I think the national sentiment is, no, Saros is good. And it's the Predator sentiment. Their broadcasters, their general manager, their coaches, oh my God, they fawn over this guy. Like he's fucking Pekka, and he's not. So there is a subtle difference there. Again, everybody will say it wasn't Saros' fault Finland lost. Well, okay, fine. It wasn't his fault that they lost. He could be the reason that they win, though, right? Like it's okay to be the reason your team wins. You know, the Florida Marlins in 2003 beat the New York Yankees in the World Series. And that Yankee team had Jeter, and that team had Aaron Boone hitting the home run and a rotation with guys like Roger Clemens, and they were stacked, that Yankee team. And yet they got beat. You know why? Because Josh Beckett pitched better. That's why. It's okay. You can be the reason that your team wins. All right. Let's get into your reaction here again on our Combine Preview show. One person says, you have preached strengthening the defense in the run game time and time again. If the Titans are going to be in position to acquire Jeremiah Love, why are they not high on Breece Hall? Well, I don't know if they're high on Breece Hall or not. Now, I have not done a running back board, and I don't know what Robert Saleh thinks of Breece Hall. And his opinion would matter to me on Breece Hall simply because he knows him. So when we're talking about leadership and we're talking about dependability and reliability and accountability, Robert Saleh does know that with Breece Hall. In fact, I think if I was in the position of Mike Borgonzi, and I think it is very important to hear your coach, but not do everything the coach says. I mean, I think you are the filter. As the old man used to tell me, the job of the GM is to protect the team from the coach. I would see Salah's initial reaction on Breece Hall when we're just going over guys and we're having the personnel meetings, and I'd say, okay, Breece Hall, running back. And I would see how Salah reacts. And if Salah was just bang his hand on the table for Hall and say, Jared, we got to have him, then I think I'd push back. And I'd say, look at all of these, and I'd bring up all the negatives. And I'd want to see just how committed he was to Breece Hall. And if he thinks Breece Hall is dependable, accountable, and reliable, then we could have that discussion. The one thing I will say, though, Brian Daboll was asked about what the Titans offense does have, and Brian Daboll's like, I don't want to get into the roster questions when asked about Ridley, but he did bring up the running game with Pollard and Spears. Guess it sounds like they're going to keep Pollard and Spears together, right? If Brian Daboll is sitting there and he's responding to it and he's answering it and he's talking about, yeah, they've got these guys. You know, he was asked about the offense and he talked about 2 receivers. And I'm like, which 2? We know DK's one of them. Are you talking about Io Manor? Because Io Manor is a number 4 receiver, in my opinion, in the NFL. Couple of guys, when I said Mike Borgonzi enters the combine on the hot seat, and let me just say this so that there is nothing to be misinterpreted. Mike Borgonzi is on the hot seat. And you want to know why Mike Borgonzi's on the hot seat? Because Mike Borgonzi works for Amy Adams Strunk. And the way it works with Amy Adams Strunk is you get the benefit of the doubt the first time, and then you get fired the second time. Unless you're John Robinson, then you get the benefit of the doubt only if you win every game. And if you lose a game where A.J. Brown spanks the goalpost, then you get fired. But she gave Brian Callahan the benefit of the doubt after year 1, and she fired him in the middle of year 2. She gave Rand Carthon the benefit of the doubt after year 1, and then she fired him after year 2. Chad Brinker this time last year was running the Titans for whatever reason, and people in the media seem to believe that Chad Brinker doesn't want to run the Titans. Bullshit. I believe that he got demoted / essentially fired. I don't think Chad Brinker's as big a part of the operation as people make. And there are a lot of people inside that building that badmouth Chad Brinker. And if he was the boss, they wouldn't be doing that. So now Mike Borgonzi got the benefit of the doubt. Coach got fired. Chad got demoted. Now it's on him. So he's absolutely on the hot seat. Now, should he be on the hot seat? That's a different discussion. But is he on the hot seat? I think it's pretty obvious given who the owner is and how she reacts. Yes, TDG, he is on the hot seat. Cedric says he is far from on the hot seat. Again, this is Amy Adams Strunk we're talking about here. When you work for Amy Adams Strunk, everybody is on the hot seat. Again, TDG says, he goes, Chad was running it last year. Right. And now he's not. Because, again, with Amy, you get one shot at it. And that's it. And, again, I'll say this. At the trade deadline, I asked Mike Borgonzi about his responsibility and the ambiguity of what Chad Brinker does in the same vacuum. And he made it very clear that he's the one who puts the team together. He's made it very clear to me that Cam Ward was his pick. That's his quarterback. So he's definitely on the hot seat. He took over a 3-win team, and they didn't win a single game more. He's now gotten to hire a coach, although how much did he get to hire the coach, I guess, is up for debate. But he did get to hire a coach. So I'm just saying, like, he is absolutely on the hot seat. Again, the over-under win total 6.5. They need to get close to that to justify their existence. If you become the general manager of the team and they win 3 games, and the first year you win 3 games, and then the next year you win 3 games again, you should be fired. So give me a break. Borgonzi. This is, again, people that are just like, no, he's my guy. He's our guy, Jared. He can do no wrong. Yeah, I know. I remember when we did this with Rand Carthon. I remember when everybody said, you'll see, Jared. I'll never forget. Somebody called me, and they told me that Mike Vrabel was holding Rand Carthon back, and that Rand Carthon had to convince Mike Vrabel that some of his own ideas were Mike Vrabel's ideas so that Vrabel would go along with them. And that Rand was going to get to hire his coach, and he was going to get to pick his team, and he was going to be freed of the Vrabel shackles. And now I think even the strongest Rand defenders now kind of know, he kind of sucked. So he's absolutely on the hot seat, and he should be. He won 3 games last year as a general manager. Again, I've said this time and time again. I'm the only one apparently that cares about winning. I'm the only one that looks at someone and says, hey, did you win games? Because you people love the coach, losing record. You people are talking about, oh my God, the experience on the coaching staff. Yeah, it's for the most part, it's pretty bad experience. Saleh has bad experience as a head coach. Borgonzi's 3-14 as a general manager. Gus Bradley was a failure in Jacksonville. Brian Dable, I don't know how much of it was his fault, but Brian Dable didn't win a lot in New York. Give me a break. One person says Borgonzi should be on the hot seat for making Matt Nagy a finalist. None of the other 9 openings did. You know what's crazy about the Matt Nagy thing? I haven't gotten into this, but I still, deep down inside, don't ever believe that John Harbaugh was considering the Titans. And I deep down inside don't ever believe that the Titans were considering John Harbaugh. But that they used each other, that Harbaugh used the Titans to get what he wanted out of the Giants, and the Titans used Harbaugh to give them credibility of, hey, John Harbaugh was interested in our job. It's not a shithole around here. We had the jet gassed up, ready to go. We promise. Again, I don't think Mike Borgonzi would have given up power after having gotten it a week before. And so I never believed that the Titans were going to hire Harbaugh, but you people thought they were going to. And you people were like, oh, Harbaugh. Look at Harbaugh's coaching staff. Matt Nagy, you hate him. Brian Callahan, you hate him. Denard Wilson, you people loved and talked yourselves into. But now that he's gone, I don't see a lot of you people being like, oh, my God, Jared, what are we going to do without Denard Wilson? I mean, Harbaugh's coaching staff with the Giants kind of sucks. And so I'm sitting here thinking to myself, ugh, is Harbaugh really that kind of guy? Woo! Cedric said, so Cedric earlier today said that Borgonzi was far from on the hot seat. Now says Borgonzi is on the warm seat, and it won't start heating up until week 3, and we're 0-3. But Cedric, you said earlier today in the show he was far from the hot seat. The warm seat is not far from the hot seat. So make up your mind, people. I think I convinced him. Also, the USA just got back up on the board. They're up 2-0. I know Finland had a 2-0 lead, but I looked at it this morning. I was talking about this on Sirius, and I was like, I look at Finland's roster. I'm like, these are all NHL guys. We had Scott Laughlin on this morning from NHL Network Radio, and I was like, all these guys these are NHL players. Like Rope Hintz. Trust me, I watch them. Rope Hintz is a good NHL player. Miro Heiskanen is a good NHL player. Mikko Rantanen is a good NHL player. They have a lot of good NHL players on Finland. Saros kind of stinks. This Slovakia team has 2 guys I've heard of. Now, they say that the guy that plays for the Canadians, that he's on Slovakia and he's good. But the guys I know of on Slovakia are Tomas Tatar, who's like 87 years old now, and Eric Chernak. And that's it. So 2-0 at the end of the first period. I expect Team USA to win for whatever that's concerned. One guy says the Titans are going to have to get a corner or 2. We need to sign your boy Tariq Woolen. Let me say this. No. Do they need corners? Yeah, they need corners. The way I look at it is, let's use Roger McCreary as an example. I think there are a bunch of guys that are available as far as the corner position are concerned that are like Roger McCreary. And because there are so many of those guys out there, I don't think anybody is going to rush to sign those guys. So even though you may not get the one guy you feel like you have to have, I think you can get 3 guys at a fair price. I don't think corner matters that much. I think some guys are really, really good, like Christian Gonzalez. But for the most part, outside of the 5 guys on the planet, Gonzalez, Surtain, Stingley, and who else? Gardner? Other than those guys, I don't think I would give a big money contract to any corner in the NFL. Period. And I would not pay Tariq Woolen because Tariq Woolen is an idiot and almost kept the Seahawks out of the Super Bowl. So, no on Tariq Woolen. TDG says, how's the Brownlee trade looking? I talk to your boy Borgonzi. He's the one that made that one. MB says, why are you making this about the goalie? The bigger question is, why was Finland? They only had 17 shots on net. What the heck was the rest of the team doing for 2.5 periods? Again, Finland was, to me, they had the talent of a regularly solid NHL team. Like, I think about like the Dallas Stars. They probably had about as much talent on that Finland team as the Dallas Stars. Canada is an all-star team. Again, I was talking about this with a football guy and Jeff Schwartz, so bear with me trying to make the football. I said, this would be like starting a game on Madden and having the Houston Texans play the NFC or AFC Pro Bowl team. And not Shedeur Sanders, but like the actual Pro Bowlers. So that right there, I'm saying, when it comes to Saros, it would just be nice if he would win one game occasionally. TDG says he's riding with Austin Matthews. Again, when Austin Matthews doesn't win for the Maple Leafs, that's their problem, not mine. When he doesn't win for America, it's my problem. So I feel comfortable in saying on Sunday, Austin Matthews, I'm looking at you. Now, I will be on SiriusXM as soon as the game is over on Mad Dog Sports Radio. So be sure to tune in for my reaction there. But I will be keeping my eyes right there on Austin Matthews. Because he is the captain and he is one of the top 5 players in the world. And so let's see him go out there and do something. That's all I ask for. Okay, that's going to do it for us. Everybody have a great weekend. Again, I was planning a shorter show today, and so we had a little bit shorter show. I want to get to some of your reaction here. Combine preview Monday. The Combine starts. Let's go. The start of the new season. Everybody get excited. And just one more time, USA, USA, USA. Like and subscribe. Thank you to Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. 440 Sports. Stillman and Company. We'll see everybody next week, Monday at 2.